morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining this live webcast this morning. This is, of course, from the STEMnet team at the Office of the Chancellor. Today we're presenting United States Department of Education HSI-STEM grantees. I'm your host, Jennifer Wicks from Learning and Development. I'll be behind the scenes today, as always, and glad for the opportunity to support the STEMnet team at the Office of the Chancellor in bringing you this webcast and this continued webcast series. So we will have live captions, and you'll see the link rather in the chat pod at the bottom of your screen, the lower right. And we look for your engagement, your questions, your comments in the chat pod throughout the session. There will be Q&A after each presentation, and Dr. Frank Gomez will be facilitating that at the end of each segment. So with that, I'd like to introduce our Executive Director of STEMnet at the Office of the Chancellor, Dr. Frank A. Gomez. I'll hand it over to you to begin, Frank.
As always, Jennifer, thank you for the kind introduction and a warm welcome to everyone out there. I hope you and all your families are healthy and safe. It is great you can join us today for the U.S. Department of Education HSI-STEM Grantees webcast. This marks our 18th webcast to the CSU community. The USDE HSI-STEM and Articulation Program supports eligible HSIs in developing and carrying out activities to increase the number of Hispanic and low-income students attaining degrees in the STEM fields, and to develop model transfer and articulation agreements between two-year HSIs and four-year institutions in such fields. Given the growth in the Hispanic population over the past 50 years, and especially in the greater Southwest, taking steps to increase the number of students with STEM credentials is critical to the future workforce and economy of the United States. The number of Hispanic students graduating with a post-secondary degree has increased in recent years. However, these students continue to be significantly underrepresented in the total number of students earning STEM credentials. This program specifically acknowledges the importance of student-centered programs that increase the number of Hispanic and low-income students who graduate with degrees in STEM fields, as well as the need to promote supportive systems to ensure that community college students will continue to pursue STEM degrees once enrolled and transferring to a four-year institution. The CSU is the exemplar and leads the nation in supporting historically marginalized and low-income students in providing them the support and the encouragement to pursue STEM degrees. Today, we have 5 USDE-funded CSU programs represented in this webcast. You'll hear details about their projects, activities, successes, lessons learned, and where they go from here. Before we begin, I want to remind the audience to use the open chat box on their screens to type in their questions. Our speakers, when not presenting, will make every effort to respond in real time. So let's begin. It is with great pleasure I introduce from Cal State Fullerton, Mark Filowitz, Associate Vice President for Academic Affairs and Enrollment, and Megan Drangstveit, Project Director. Mark and Megan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Frank. I'll start off by giving a little bit of history. Back in around 2007, we started looking at what was happening to our transfer students coming to us from our feeder community colleges in the STEM area. And we did get a grant in 2008 from the NSF for a STEP grant, where we had a regional alliance looking at 2 community colleges that we work with. And it's amazing how much we didn't know about community colleges and how they operate. And there's also within the Great California Master Plan, there's a little bit of a pecking order between the UCs, the Cal States, and the community colleges. So you have to be a little careful about not showing up and saying, hey, I'm from the 4-year, so I'm here to help, because that doesn't get you many friends. So the history started in 2008. We had, in 2011, our first Title III grant from the Department of Education, where we started working then with 3 community colleges, with Citrus College, Cypress College, and Santiago Canyon. And in our latest iteration, for which we just got our no-cost extension, thank you, Department of Ed, we are working now with 8 community colleges. Project RAISE, which is, as you see the title, is the question of getting a regional alliance in STEM education. So what we found is that we didn't know as much as we thought we knew. We learned a lot over this period of time. And from our mistakes, we continued to hone our projects to look better and better, get better student outcomes. So what we did is we found a number of things to look at. I mean, first of all, we know that when community college students transfer over. Very often there's a drop in their GPA the first semester, so there's a caretaking required for incoming STEM students in particular. And the other issue is that very often, because the counselors in the community colleges are very overloaded, they tend to tell students to basically take the Golden Four and move on, which of course in the STEM area puts you behind the eight ball in terms of your degree progression. So currently, we took all those things, and Megan's going to get into this in a lot of detail. We have our program partners. We have now, as I mentioned, 8 community colleges. There are 2 out of area, which is Mount Sac and Citrus, and the other 6 are in our service area. And we also are working with our Natural Sciences and Mathematics College and also our Engineering and Computer Science College to make sure that we get the amount of cooperation that we need from faculty to sponsor research and to mentor students, etc. We have a career center also that involves itself with our program so that when students finish, they are ready to move on either to the next program, graduate program, or go into the workforce. And our external evaluator has been with us, very, very good evaluator, Royal Research Services. And they are somebody that we hope, if we get the next iteration of a grant, to continue using their services. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Megan, our project director. For those of you out there that are doing programs that involve multiple campuses, get yourself the best project director you can because it will save your life, and I have that one. You have the floor, Megan.
Thank you very much, Mark. I also have a pretty awesome PI who is letting me run the program in the way that I've wanted to, and we've had really great results. So these next slides will talk about our activities and kind of what we've learned over the course of our time with Project RAISE. So I think the backbone of our work are the peer advisors. These are ideally STEM transfer students, products of our program, and they provide support for all aspects of our activities. They do one-on-one mentoring for our summer research program, our post-transfer support program. They are the ones facilitating research at the community colleges and hosting students at CSUF. And we've learned, like as time has gone on, they've been contributing more and leading our student staff trainings, as well as developing their own personal skills with self-efficacy, leadership, presentations, all things that are going to be assets as they move forward in whatever pursuits they have after they leave Cal State Fullerton. Our community college outreach activities are focused specifically on helping STEM transfer students prepare for the transfer. And so we have done customized options at each of the community colleges, typically at least 3 visits per 8 colleges each semester. In person when we were in person, and we've adjusted that to be virtually open to all campuses during this pandemic time. But helping students explore careers in STEM, how to use their local campus resources, pursue internships, prepare for undergraduate research, whether it be with our programs or others, and be prepared to be successful as students at their next institution. And so what we've learned from this is that the students have created better connections with one another. They really appreciate hearing from peers, which is where our peer advisors have been quite an asset in promoting and sharing that information. We've really helped highlight CSUF as a destination for these students at the community colleges for transfer, for doing research. And part of that, we've invited students and brought them to campus so they can see what CSUF is like, meet with current students, and also explore the STEM labs on campus to get a better idea of what life as a student could be like if they came to CSUF. One of our more intense components is the undergraduate research experience. So we've been bringing students to CSUF to work with our faculty each summer for 8 weeks, and these are community college students, so they may not have had opportunities to have hands-on experiences prior to their time with us. Benefits for the students, one of the biggest is that $5,000 stipend that allows the students to forego other employment or unrelated STEM jobs so that they can focus 40 hours a week on our activities. The faculty, in turn, get a $1,500 supply budget for each student that they host. And the students over the course of the semester meet weekly with their peer advisors. We have workshops each week focused on their poster development, student success skills, preparing for transfer, and also talking with faculty about their own paths through the STEM process, especially those who have similar identities to our program participants. So initially, we did have 32 students in the first year, which is what was built into the project proposal.
And we were able, with some extra funds, be able to expand the size of those cohorts each subsequent year. This summer, we are offering it to 32 students in kind of a hybrid virtual model based on what the faculty had available. And from our work with the URE, we've had really great results of students increasing their confidence, ability to make presentations, know their knowledge of the transfer process, and really feeling more committed to having STEM as something related as part of their future goals. We've exceeded our goals in attracting Hispanic and low-income participants. And this summer, we actually have 100% of our students are Hispanic or low income, which is really a great accomplishment that we were able to meet the grant objectives in that way. I even got an email from a student yesterday that had participated in URE 19, has subsequently transferred, and was, I couldn't have scripted it better myself, but the student was giving direct credit to their time with the undergraduate research experience for all of the subsequent successes, and they were offering to help talk to community college students and do whatever it takes to help give back, to help other students figure out how to be more entrenched and connected to STEM. We do provide a support program for STEM transfers at CSUF called the Raise Transfer Program. Through this, we have activities and workshops that are focused on academic, social, skill development. And we also have a Transfer Resource Center, which is a space on campus dedicated for STEM students, where they can come in, meet with their peer advisor, do study groups, heat up their lunch because we have a microwave. And students who complete their activities for the Raise Transfer Program receive priority registration, which is a hot commodity on our campus, as I'm sure it is on yours. So the program does have a list of activities that I mentioned that the students must complete in order to be considered active. But these are all the activities that that we know help contribute to student success: meeting with their academic advisors, being involved on campus, taking advantage of campus resources. And so even despite this COVID-related campus closure last year, we had tremendous results with the student success, with on track to degree completion, good academic standing. So 93% of our program participants were in good academic standing, which was quite impressive, especially with the remote, school from home, technology issues, all of the other competing demands for the students. And within the students from our partner colleges, 87% were remaining in STEM, which was a 9% increase from our baseline. So the summer internship program is available to the students in the Raise Transfer Program. And this is support to help students explore, prepare, and pursue paid internships within the STEM fields. Our staff meet with students one-on-one, as well as provide larger workshops, in addition to a one-day boot camp in August, so that the students are ready for the fall cycle of job and internship fairs. So our students have been more connected to employers, feeling more confident to pursue those things, as well as also taking better advantage of campus resources directed related to the careers. Career Center, we work very closely with staff there, and the students have been successful in having those experiences and having a leg up for the next for their full-time job searches. Transferology is a free nationwide website that is similar to assist.org that allows students to help explore how courses would transfer to various institutions. We did discover that this was difficult to track user data, as the students at the community colleges, as well as the counselors, were reluctant to adopt something other than Assist, even during the period that Assist was down and not getting updated because it was getting its massive overhaul. The STEM Articulation Conference is an annual opportunity for us to meet and bring together community college partners and CSUF representatives to talk about updates related to articulation, curriculum, and of course, college-specific guidance for students who are looking to transfer. So this has happened each year with presenters from CSUF, but with a kind of a smaller audience. And so lessons learned. The partnerships between and with community colleges have been extremely important for us. It goes beyond just the articulation agreements and just having some courses written down on paper of counting. We've created a network within and amongst our partner colleges and CSUF to help talk about other things besides just articulation. We all know that undergraduate research programs are highly impactful, but we've learned that ours at CSUF through Project RAISE is especially supportive, and that students, despite, even if they've had opportunities in the past with research, really appreciate the level of care and support that we're providing through the RAISE transfer or Project RAISE. The hybrid offerings that we're providing for transition programs with asynchronous, pre-recorded, virtual, and before times in person, covered a mix of activities and topics that we knew were related to student support and were helpful in making students feel connected to campus. The mentoring, we know that the peer mentoring, everyone wants to hear from their peers, so that's been especially helpful for students, that having that first person that they can come with questions has helped make campus feel smaller. And the mentoring is also present with the faculty in the Undergraduate Research Experience program. Over time, it's been great that our student staff have really become the program. They are products of it themselves. They're helpful to recruit and promote the program amongst new students so that we are able to provide that community of support for our participants. We've had really great assessment with our outside evaluators. We've been constantly checking on things, refining and making improvements over the course of our grant, that the activities in year 5 look very different than those in year 1, and for very good reason. We have learned that transferology, while easy to use and pretty, is really hard to adopt by the counselors and students at the community colleges. And I think due to our flexibility and our relying on our student staff and using their feedback and ideas, we were really well positioned to continue many of our activities even through the pandemic. So long-term plans, as Mark mentioned, we did apply for the 2021 competition and we did receive our no-cost extension. So we are able to continue doing some of the work right now, which is great. We're expanding our partnerships on campus to include other research programs and across the colleges to co-promote opportunities and engage our students, because a lot of us are serving the same groups of students. And moving forward, we are going to continue using these lessons learned from the pandemic of recorded content, planned virtual and in-person activities, because we know the students have varying, competing demands, and that we are trying to provide as much flexibility as possible. And I think that was our last slide.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Megan. Great talk. A couple questions here. For Mark. How did you gain trust and build relationships with the community colleges?
Yeah, so that certainly took time. And again, learning what the community colleges do and how they operate was very interesting. So when we first started our first work in 2008, we thought, well, we just tell community colleges if you prepare people for STEM better by getting the courses right. We ran into a brick wall, and the brick wall was twofold. One, they felt that we were evaluating their job and what they were doing. And secondly, they started pulling out their labor agreements and saying, wait a minute, we don't work for you. So it's not a question of showing up, we're from the government, we're here to help. That approach will not work. You need to build relationships over time, which I think we've done. And as we've moved into more and more community colleges and gotten to know the counselors and some of the deans at the community colleges in the STEM area, it's happened, and it's happened over time because you have to build trust. And again, there's that issue of CSU 4-year versus 2-year, and not coming across as somebody that knows everything. And in fact, we knew very little when we stepped in. So we learned a lot. And my advice to anybody is listen a lot, talk less, and you'll do just great.
Have you had any difficulty recruiting students or student staff for Project RAISE?
So initially when we started the program, our recruitment was focused on the race transfer program, the post-matriculation support. And we had in year one an opt-in that it required students to fill out a form in order to be able to take advantage of our program. And we didn't really have the name recognition or any students who could kind of serve as our advocates to help with recruitment. So what we did in the subsequent years and are continuing to do is more of an opt-out. We have the rosters of all incoming STEM students, regardless of the community colleges that they're coming from, and we include everybody as part of our program and force them to opt out. So they've received emails throughout their first semester with us to know about our activities and the supports that come from being an active participant in the race transfer program. And with our student staffing, it was a similar structure that we didn't have those students in place. So we initially were recruiting from any transfer student on campus, regardless if they were from our partner colleges. And as we've had, the program has grown and had time, we've now been able to recruit directly from our participants who are really the best advocates of what we can do, how to use campus resources. And it's been really great seeing the program kind of turn into a self-supporting, that we're not really having to recruit as hard. The students are wanting to work with as a peer advisor because they've had such a great experience themselves.
A lot of interest in the chat box, number of questions for you. So glad you could participate, and we'll see you in a little bit. So, thanks for your talks. Great. Thanks. Our next speaker is Eric Marinez from Cal State Long Beach. I've known Eric for quite a long time. His talk is entitled HSI-STEM, Si Puedo, Strengthen the Impact by Providing Undergraduate Educational Development Opportunities. Eric, your turn.
Thank you, Frank. I'm glad you mentioned our more than 25 years we've known each other. I met Frank when he was a first-year assistant professor at Cal State LA. I was completing my master's, and I was on my way to PhD. So I know Frank and I are both value the fact that we're both products of the CSU. Like Frank mentioned, I'm at Cal State Long Beach. I run the Si Puedo program. Si Puedo in Spanish means I can do it. It's an asset-based model. But Si Puedo also stands for the acronym of strengthen the impact by providing undergraduate educational development opportunities. I want to also highlight the fact that this is our second HSI-STEM grant at Cal State Long Beach. I'll talk a little bit about how we have evolved through the course of the last 10 years with HSI-STEM on our campuses. I want to highlight that my collaborators are associate deans for each college. They specifically are co-PIs on the project, and they're a valuable asset to everything that we do on our campus. I'm really grateful for their leadership. So let me give a great shout out to Dr. Tracy Maples. She's a COE Associate Dean, and Dr. Chris Slowinski, the CNSM Associate Dean. We define STEM on our campus as students majoring in the College of Engineering, which also hosts computer science, and the College of Natural Science and Mathematics. The grant is collaborative in nature. And one thing I wanted also just note is that the grant is integrated with all our HSI STEM staff, and they work very closely with all staff in each respective college as well as the advisors. This is basically our overall goal is to close the achievement gap in STEM baccalaureate degree attainment for Hispanic and other low-income students. These are our goals, and I want to just share that our goals are in alignment with the federal announcement call for proposals for the Title III HSI STEM grant. Specifically, they are to address improve student academic success, improve timely degree completion and retention, increase degree attainment, and develop model transfer programming. So in order to achieve this, I'm going to specifically kind of highlight how we address these program goals. For the goal of academic success and timely degree completion and retention, Si Puedo offers tutoring, mentoring, and culture development workshops. We offer freshman summer program to address math preparation for successful completion of gateway courses. We also have a transfer experience course that increases emphasis on career exploration and science identity within the transfer learning community. We have a STEM-specific family orientation called the Bienvenida. We've been running that for over 10 years now. And we also do quite a bit of faculty training to engage faculty in culturally responsive pedagogy. To achieve the goals of degree attainment and develop model transferring, what Puedo offers is first-year, freshman, and transfer learning communities that aim to increase retention and degree attainment for Hispanic and low-income students. We offer a STEM transfer-specific orientation. In fact, it's been so great that we offer now specifically transfer orientations for each college. We offer one for COE, and we offer one for the College of Natural Science and Mathematics. We also offer a summer bridge research experience program for first semester transfer students. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. And one of the things we developed is articulation transfer roadmaps between our 10 top feeder schools, community colleges that in STEM. This is kind of an umbrella of our programming. I kind of like this graphic. So we have a program called Step into STEM, and this is specifically a program to address math placement for entering freshmen. We also have a Summer Bridge to the Beach program. This is a really tailored program to basically offer research to entering transfer students. So these are students that are going to matriculate in the fall, and one of the things I'll point out to you in a moment is some of the challenges that are faced with that program, because we actually have to recruit students as they apply to the institution. As mentioned previously, we do offer, now we offer specific transfer orientations for each college. We have Excel STEM peer mentors. We also offer the Bienvenida, our family event in the fall, specifically in September for National Hispanic Heritage Month. We offer our Excel learning communities for both freshmen and transfer. In this grant, we offer 12 learning communities for each semester for freshmen and 2 for each semester for transfer students. And we also have quite a bit of faculty development. I want to specifically talk about our student activities. Specifically here, we offer programming specifically for first-year students. And so we have programs specifically tailored for transfer students. Again, as I mentioned to you, the Summer Bridge to the Beach. We also have both learning committees for during the fall and spring semester. And as I mentioned, the transfer orientation. For STEM freshmen, we offer the Step into STEM program, which is the math preparation program, as well as the Excel learning communities for both semesters. And then we also host our family event. One thing I want to mention to you that you can see on this PowerPoint slide is there's an asterisk. And the asterisk basically refers to the fact that all our programming is basically embedded with near-peer STEM mentors. And so one of the things I will also be talking about is we really see the value of peer mentorship and what peer mentorship offers to our students. These are some of the pictures here. If you look at the very top one, this is a cohort of students that participated in our Summer Bridge to the Beach program. Again, this is specifically for incoming transfer students. The second row, the one on the far left, is specifically students that participate in our Step into STEM program, which is offered in the summer. The far right picture in the middle is the 42 peer mentors. So one of the things we do offer in the grant is we offer 21 peer mentors for each college, so a total of 42. And then the bottom 2 pictures are specifically pictures taken from our family event. The bottom one is pictures with students with their parents, and the bottom right is specifically a student from our Summer Bridge program that's showcasing the impact of research to the family. I want to just share some of the results. Our current Puedo program, as of spring, we offer services to 1,850 students. This is staggering. This is 3 times more students that we were able to impact in our first HSI STEM grant. If you look at the students that serve, a big volume of them are served through the learning communities, both for the freshman and transfer. We basically have 1,523 students that have been impacted by that program. And one thing I want to just emphasize is we have really, looked at the program, and our students basically reflect the demographics of our campus. We have 49% of the students participating that are Hispanic and 52% that are Pell eligible. Some of the highlights of these LCs, students who participate in the 2 semesters of the freshman Excel LCs show higher persistent rates than those who did not participate at all. For first year persistence was 82% for participants versus 54% for non-participants for the College of Natural Science and Mathematics. And then for the College of Engineering, we had 90% retention for participants versus 76% for non-participants. Some data for the transfer LC, and here I'm giving specific data for different cohorts. For the fall 2017 cohort, our 3-year graduation rate, which is our first graduation rate that we can measure, was 71% higher for Hispanic transfer students than those that did not participate, which was 64%. 92% of the fall 2018 Hispanic cohort are in good academic standing. And one thing that we try to do is mitigate transfer shock. Their false overall GPA was, for these participants, were 3.0 versus non-participants who averaged a GPA of 2.57, definitely indicating that they experienced transfer shock. The average GPA for our students that are entering the campus from the community college is around 3.2. Some of the lessons learned. It's critical to integrate with the college mission initiatives on student success. So the fact that I work so closely with the colleges of the College of Natural Science and Mathematics and the College of Engineering, I basically work as a team with the Dean's Office. And the Dean's Office obviously has a strategic mission. HSI-STEM is part of that mission. One thing I also want to just highlight is the learning communities have been highly successful. And they have been highly successful for both transfer and first-time freshmen. And the data that we see is we observe increases in first semester academic standing, as I mentioned earlier, retention, math course grades, and first semester GPA. Our Step Into STEM program is a program, again, that was basically designed to assist students with math placement. And, it was really interesting that we wrote this grant before the executive order came out from the Chancellor's office. And specifically, the Step Into STEM program has really helped the colleges address math placement. There's a couple aims in the program. One is to increase math placement and preparation, and the other aims are to increase first semester academic performance and standing. Some of the things we observe is increases in first semester math course grade and academic standing versus non-participants. And then the other thing that we see and continues to see is the value of the peer mentors. They continue to be crucial for freshmen in the transfer for student success and support. They have been effective at creating both a sense of belonging and community, something that we value in our programming. One thing that I just want to mention is the participating PMs increase their personal leadership and professional skills through training and experience as peer mentors. I had a site visit on the first HSI STEM grant that we had, and the Department of Education, one of the questions they asked me is, how are the peer mentors faring? And I often have noted to them is they actually are very exemplary. I consider them our ambassadors to each campus, to each college. One of the things we also see with our peer mentors, a lot of them have been participants of the programming. So as peer mentors, we often use their reflections and input to help inform us and improve programming. Next steps and long-term plans. One of the things we want to do is we want to increase our programming. We see that we're making an impact. So now we want to increase the number of learning communities that we offer. We want to move also from transfer remotes to something called digital transfer road mapping. We want to create an Excel LC for students in high academic risk. We also want to form an alumni group. The fact that we have a program for 10 years now, we have students that have graduated and are very successful. So we want them to support our peer mentors and program participants. We want them to share their insights into STEM industry and field. And we want them to engage our students on their pathway and connect students to experiential learning opportunities. The other thing we want to do in the new grant is strengthen the STEM outreach among LB USD and LBCC. This will increase access to first-year student STEM programs in first semester and fall following admissions. And we also want to improve student interest in STEM to attend Cal State Long Beach. So I want to summarize that the Department of Education, I want to thank them for providing us with these resources. It has been instrumental in changing the culture of STEM education at Cal State Long Beach. You know, one of the things we observed is the number of low completion courses has decreased over the timeline of this grant. We also have experienced that, you know, our faculty are better trained. And one of the things I also observed is peer mentorship has now been a cultural part of the fabric at Cal State Long Beach. We have a lot more peer mentorship going on our campus. The grant has enabled the campus to better serve our Hispanic students. It has better served freshmen and transfer students majoring in STEM at CSULB. It's allowed us to evaluate and assess student programs as high impact practices. And it's permitted us to design and develop new student success courses for freshmen and transfer students. And finally, we have been able to offer faculty development workshops and training programs promoting asset-based curriculum. I will just want to give a big shout out to, this is a big grant, and not only do I want to thank the deans, but I also want to thank senior administration. I want to thank my valuable staff, and I also want to thank all the faculty as well as all the staff and advisors in each respective college. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Certainly a very inspiring talk, and I certainly liked your data where your program really reflects and mirrors the your campus demographics. I think this question is up your alley, and certainly for someone like myself who's ran large institutional grants for when I was a faculty for literally half my career, mostly from NSF, these multi-million-dollar ones. What are some of the challenges encountered in administrating a large institutional grant such as this?
Well, Frank, I think we've learned as we've gone along. As I mentioned, this is our second grant. The first grant was initially housed in a different college, and it had a different PI. I was a co-PI, and the grant was not integrated as well within the fabric of the colleges. Now that I'm faculty in the College of Natural Science, they have embraced my leadership, and it's something that I value, and it's something that I'm honored to say that I have been able to do this. In my wildest dreams, I never thought that I would be serving so many students. You know, I don't think anyone serves as many students when you think of the context of what a faculty officer does with their service, research, and teaching. Obviously, my service is exemplary. And with that being said, one of the things I have to advocate for myself is buyout. And I have to specifically articulate to the institution, college, and department to recognize my level of service and to protect me from other services on campus. The other part that I think is really critical that I've learned to address again is the fact that because I work so closely with the college administration, they often have given me pathways to work with different levels of the campus administration. One thing I value and I've had the opportunity to learn is the campus challenges and how their strategic efforts are to address them and how I can assist with that strategic plan. One thing that I also find challenging, and again, it's a big grant, it has a lot of moving parts, is that we work very closely with a lot of different departments, services on campuses. For one, LCs, we rely on enrollment services to help us with recruitment, as well as to assist us with the needs to support for our course clustering that's taking place in those LCs.
Idea for perhaps a panel or a webcast going forward, because certainly faculty who run these big grants, it's it's easier getting the grant than it is in managing it. because writing the proposal may take 6 months to a year, but running it may take 5 years. And so I think there needs to be kind of a primer, not only for faculty who are going to run this, but also for administrators who need to understand the complexities of running grants this size and how they can be either helpful in its success or they sometimes can be a detriment in terms of its failures if it doesn't work the way it's supposed to on paper. So thank you, Eric. Great talk. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Frank.
So our next speaker is S.K. Ramesh from Cal State Northridge, and his talk is entitled Enhancing Student Success with a Multi-Institutional Collaborative Program.
Thank you so much, Frank, and it's really wonderful to hear my colleagues from Fullerton, Mark and Megan, and Eric for the amazing work that you're doing. And ladies and gentlemen in the audience from across the system, a number of my colleagues from Cal State Northridge, it is wonderful to be able to share with you in the next few minutes the work that we've been doing with the AIM Squared program. And I'll tell you what AIM Squared stands for, both literally and metaphorically: attract, inspire, mentor, and support students. And it's a program that we developed over 10 years ago with support from the United States Department of Education. So I first want to give a very big thank you to our colleagues in the Department of Education for recognizing the importance of supporting this initiative to enhance student success, particularly for underrepresented students in our communities. So a little bit of history about Cal State Northridge. The first grant that we received was in 2011, and as many of you have heard, the work that we've been doing in partnership with our community colleges, in partnership with our high schools, had been going on for a long time before that. One particular seminal publication that I'll mention to all of you, I was Dean of Engineering and Computer Science at that time. In 2008, the National Academies of Engineering came up with a publication called Changing the Conversation. And you can download it and read it if you're not familiar with it. But one particular expert here, I think, bears attention. It says that no profession unleashes the spirit of innovation like engineering. No profession connects science to life in so many forward-looking ways. And no profession has such a direct and positive impact on people's lives. We're counting on engineers and scientists and their imaginations to carry us forward into the 21st century. Now, fast forward to March of 2020, and think about the challenges that we all faced, not just in education, but across the globe in various aspects of our lives. And I truly believe the reason why we're able to connect today, thanks to the technologies, thanks to the work that we're doing, is because of the inclusive collaborative approach that we've taken. So with that as a foundation, the original AIM Squared grant, Attract, Inspire, Mentor, and Support Students, began with conversations with two partner community colleges, namely Glendale Community College and College of the Canyons. Both of these colleges are Hispanic serving institutions, as was Cal State Northridge. And in the College of Engineering and Computer Science, we probably had about 3,000 students at that time. And I would reckon about 40% of them were transfer students. One of the things that we noticed, my colleagues and I, faculty, the department chairs and I, was that there were tremendous gaps when it came to persistence, when it came to graduation rates. Now, historically, the minority engineering program that many of you may have heard about started at Cal State Northridge over half a century ago, 1968, under Dean Ray Landis at that time, who was a faculty member at Cal State Northridge. So we put our heads together and we said, we really need to begin working with our community colleges to understand the challenges that students face so that we can in turn provide them with the support structures to students, as well as provide collaboration with the faculty and staff in those colleges. So that's how it began in 2011 at the first HSI-STEM grant. We were also very intentional in connecting with faculty and staff from the College of Science and Mathematics. We had faculty from biology, faculty from mathematics. We also had engineering education-oriented themes. Our College of Education faculty were very involved in terms of assessment and so forth. Now, I'll come back to this theme during my presentation. Some of the main areas that we focused on were, what is the experience of the student when they transfer from a 2-year college to a 4-year college? how can we provide the support that they need for them to be successful academically, socially, as well as professionally. So the initial grant served about 250 transfer students in the College of Engineering and Computer Science. Subsequently, we were very fortunate to receive a grant in 2016, and now we expanded it to go on to two more community colleges, Moore Park Community College and Los Angeles Pierce College. We also expanded it to serve freshmen. In the College of Engineering and Computer Science, we offer ABET accredited programs in 8 different disciplines and 5 departments, as well as a construction management program. So students from all these disciplines were represented in our program. So what is the program all about? So first and foremost, it's about promoting student success. Creating an environment where students believe in themselves, they're confident that they can go out and do the things necessary to be successful in engineering and computer science. We all know how faculty are so critical to this initiative. So we wanted to create faculty and peer environments that would support the students in this quest. We truly valued our community colleges as partners in this endeavor. As Mark, Megan, and Eric emphasized, we went to them with open arms and to listen to them about the challenges they faced, not just in terms of articulation, but the environment that they were operating in and how we could partner to create an ecosystem that supports all students once they were to transfer to our colleges. And then when you think about STEM disciplines, echoing the National Academy of Engineering presentation, it's about careers, it's about professional development. So we built into our program a number of opportunities for students to interact with industry, career fairs, job fairs, resume writing workshops, and so forth. Undergraduate research. Now, this has proven to be a wonderful practice for us, and I can share some data with you on how this has helped retention as well as persistence in graduation. But ladies and gentlemen, none of this would be possible without the collaboration that exists between the faculty, the staff. I'm very blessed to have over 25 faculty and staff, and we've been together for over a decade. So that speaks to the power of our partnership. And we're very fortunate and blessed to be recognized by a number of entities, including the White House Initiative for Educational Excellence for Hispanics and by Excellencia in Education a couple of years ago. So what is AIM Squared all about? If you ask me in one word, I would say community. And I believe that every speaker whom you're going to hear from today will talk about different aspects about that. You build community with engagement. You build community with transparency. You build community with openness. And we have a number of programs and services, whether it's workshops, career preparation, research presentations, supporting students to attend conferences, our annual symposium. And incidentally, during the past year in the pandemic limited situation, we conducted a completely 100% online virtual research program, and we had about 24 students. It was about half the number of students we usually have participating, but they participated in a completely online research program. The heart of the program is what we call a cohort model. So we have faculty mentors who are deliberately matched with students from different disciplines. So you might be a faculty member from computer science, mechanical engineering, civil engineering, etc. But we make sure that you have a mix of students because we really want students to understand that they're part of a larger community. Our peer mentoring program, which really took off about 3 years ago, is a wonderful program that includes both alumni mentors as well as paid peer mentors. We have student tutors. The faculty meet weekly, sometimes bi-weekly with their students, advisement. And speaking of minimum requirements for scholarship, the students earn a stipend for textbooks and other products and services at the end of each semester, where we expect them to complete a minimum of 12 units a semester. Many of them actually complete about 15 and pass all of their courses. Let me go back to the previous slide right here. So there are 2 keys that I believe are very important to student success. And in AIM Squared, participation in undergraduate research and peer mentoring are 2 of those programs. On the graph to your right, you can see pictorially the number of projects that we've been sponsoring over the last 5 years. 2020 is not there on the graph yet because that's the year that we did it virtually. You can see that over this time we've sponsored, including last year, 70 projects, over 220 students. There's about 70 faculty involved in these projects. And some of these projects might be in the manufacturing arena, others might be in the electrical arena, it might be in the biomedical arena. The approximate number of hours of paid research is now approaching about 40,000. So these students are paid typically $15 an hour, and during the semester they can work up to 5 hours per week. During the summer, we allow them to work up to 10 hours per week, and this is open to all students including students from our community college partners. The peer mentoring program is, I believe, another critical aspect as to why our program has been where it is. Now, when you look at the results, you can see increased persistence and completion. In our college, at the moment, about 55% of our students are Hispanic, and a higher number of students, almost 2/3 of our students, would qualify as both Hispanic and low-income students. The 3-year transfer graduation rate for students in our cohort is almost 70%, which is double the transfer rate for their peers across the system. Increased completion of gateway courses. We emphasized a lot on how to prepare students in preparatory courses in math, physics, chemistry, as well as engineering, science, and design courses. And then fostering a positive career outlook. This is very important because we wanted to connect students with industry so they could envision what they would accomplish when they leave the university. So here are some of the lessons that we've learned, and I want to reflect on the last year in particular. March of 2020, before spring break, and most of our campuses, we were meeting face-to-face. And literally in the space of a week, we had to adapt to online modalities. If you're a fan of Charles Dickens, you might be remembering it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. And we're moving ahead in a very positive way, supporting students in a virtual environment. One of the things that I'm most proud about, and I believe this is true of all of my colleagues, is the way in which faculty and staff and our students have stepped up with these challenges. No challenge is too big for them to overcome. And you talk about a gamut of problems from academic struggles, financial struggles, mental health concerns, students dealing with home security, COVID-19 struggles, and so forth. And every single challenge has been overcome by these students. And this is a lesson that I really take to my heart, that we can learn from this experience. We can do much better as we go forward. Speaking about peer mentoring, we have a program with about 100 students participating out of our 150 students at any time in the cohort. And each student has the opportunity to participate in the peer mentoring program. So the ratio is about 5-to-1. We have 18 paid peer mentors last year. They work typically about 10 hours a week. And we also have a number of alumni mentors. We've graduated close to about 200 students now from the program. Many of them are coming back and volunteering. Now, the way it works is that with our partner, we are able to track what issues the students are having. As a project director, along with the staff, student services support coordinator, the other faculty, meet regularly with the peer mentors to hear from them firsthand what challenges they're facing in dealing with their mentees. And this is important because it is not about waiting till the end of the semester. It is actually doing this in a way that is intensive, that is, some might argue, intrusive, but it makes a difference to the student when they need the help and where they need it the most. So as many of you are doing, we also applied for a new grant in the 2021 competition. We plan to continue all of the practices here, faculty and peer mentoring. Incidentally, the peer mentoring program that started in AIM Squared is now being institutionalized across CSUN. So CSUN currently, I got a newsletter from our provost's office yesterday saying that the CSUN peer mentoring program currently has about 630 peer mentors who've been matched with about 2,700 students. It's an opt-in program. It's a voluntary program, unlike the AIM Squared program, where we actually have paid peer mentors. Student research participations. CSUN has a C-Symposium, which cuts across all the different disciplines and allows students to participate in research. See, by doing this and by engaging faculty and staff in the education of their students, we can definitely make a difference in their professional lives as well as their experience going forward. In the new grant, we're focusing on culturally sensitive pedagogies, and in particular on a servingness model. One of our distinguished alumna is Dr. Gina Garcia. So we plan to work with Dr. Garcia to look very closely at our practices, because it is not enough for one AIM Squared program. We want AIM Squared and the practices that we're doing here to spread across all of the community colleges, to spread across all of the institutions in California so they can benefit from the same practices that we've had. Last but not the least, industry and community engagement. We have a very strong industry advisory board, external advisory committee, with members from around the country who support us in our initiatives. So these are all the practices that we are looking for in our 2021 grant. I also want to thank the Department of Education for approving our no-cost extension. Currently, we have about 90 students left in our grant, And we expect that they will be supported. About half of them will graduate by spring of 2022. So looking ahead, in summary, we have demonstrated substantial improvement in student academic performance as well as gateway course completion. Faculty and peer environments continue to support culturally validate students. Transfer success has been one of our biggest successes, I would say, shortening time to graduation. And it is really wonderful to see these students go out and be very successful in industry and graduate school. 2 practices, research-related student, faculty, and peer-to-peer interaction, as well as enhanced baccalaureate degree completion, are the ones that we're most proud about, and we'd love to share this with all of you as we go forward. So with that said, I believe we're on to my last slide here, so I'll turn it over back to Frank. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Great talk. And you have that great voice that says even more about your talk. Quick question for you. We've heard several high-impact practices on the AIMS squared. How can they be institutionalized for broader impact?
That's a wonderful question. And I think Mark referred to this in his remarks earlier today. Listen, 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 right? I mean, that's rule number 1. And it takes a community, right? It takes a community to engage. So when I think about peer mentoring, I remember last year, just before we went into these pandemic limited conditions, we hosted a roundtable with our partner Mentor Collective, and we had a number of institutions from around Southern California that attended. Our provost and president attended as well. And they started to talk about this, and they said, well, this is something that perhaps we can do on a larger scale. But it takes time. It takes conversations. It takes transparency. And I truly believe that we need to be patient with this. Because oftentimes as engineers and computer scientists, we tend to design products and processes, and we want to see the impact very quickly. But I believe that if you're patient, if you're transparent, and we work very closely with our partners, understand what their challenges are. Josefina Godina, who's our student services coordinator, is on the call today attending, and she will tell you that it takes a lot of work, right? And it's about that focus on that individual student. So institutionalization, I think, begins at the top. It begins with buy-in, and it begins with transparency. Peer mentoring is one of those practices. Research is another one. And I bet you will find other practices in the days ahead as we continue to collaborate. So I want to thank you, Frank, for creating this platform for all of us to share. Because without this, I think a lot of these practices would remain very local. I truly believe that we can have a global impact in higher education in general, engineering and computer science in particular, with the work that we're doing across STEMnet. So thank you very much. And thank you to the Department of Education for making this possible. So I'd say you start by doing what is necessary, then you do what's possible, and eventually you find yourself doing the impossible. Wasn't an engineer, St. Francis of Assisi.
As good as the speakers that we have on these webcasts. So thanks for the kind words, and I appreciate your participating today, and continue doing great work with your students at your institution. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Sastry Pantula from CSU San Bernardino, and his talk is entitled A for Us, Two Paths. Sastry.
Good morning, and thanks, Frank. And thanks for this opportunity to share about our advising for undergraduate success during the past 5 years and what we are looking forward to with PATS, proactive approaches for training Hispanics in STEM. So we are very grateful to the Department of Education for their support for the last 5 years and also the no-cost extension that we received yesterday. But we are eagerly waiting to hear about the new grant in a month or so, fingers crossed. So the A for Us grant has gone through a difficult start. As a background, this grant was submitted by my predecessor, Dr. Fleming, in 2016, and she moved to Long Beach in 2017. We had an interim dean for a year, who unfortunately actually passed away last month. A co-PI for this grant from the undergraduate studies also unfortunately passed away just before I arrived. I joined in 2018 and took over this grant as the new PI. The senior advisor who was looking over prior to my arrival also moved to the interim dean of the undergraduate studies. So I recruited a new director of advising in 2019. And since then, university had made several changes. We switched from quarters to semesters. We also centralized some of the professional advisors to be under the central administration. So we have currently a couple of Dean's Fellows, that's Dr. Escalante and Dr. Maynard, who have been helping us with our STEM Center. The proposal is an excellent proposal and focused on intrusive advising and making use of the EAB software to advise students very proactively. It also had good plans for connecting with community colleges. I think we have been really successful in achieving many of these goals set out in our proposal with regards to proactive advising and reaching out to community colleges very well, thanks to our STEM counselors and to our Dean's Fellows. We have used a randomized control trial where some of the STEM students are selected at random to be in our treatment group each year and the rest to be in our control group. Those who are in the treatment group got additional advising, coaching, and support from our STEM Center. Those in the treatment group are assigned to our STEM counselors, and each STEM counselor has about 150 advisees. On the other hand, those in the control group, as well as those in the treatment group, are seen by our professional advisors with 1 to 1,200 advisee ratio. The goal is to show that the additional advising received by the treatment group will increase retention in STEM, higher graduation rates, and have an increased sense of belonging. The STEM counselors pictured here have been doing an outstanding job with proactive advising. They organized a number of career panels, which I'll show you in a minute. They organized major mixers to bring students from the same major together to support each other. They offered a number of workshops in time management, financial aid, virtual learning, etc. They focused some workshops to community college students. Also, they spent time in the community colleges physically and virtually. They created a new STEM club. So every day, each of these counselors contact 5 to 10 students to check on them and give some nudges about advising, about workshops, or just to check in to say hello and let them know that they are there for them. We also got 2 supplemental awards to our grant, one to make use of the learning assistants in our classrooms for our faculty to do active learning methods, and the second to celebrate teaching as a profession to increase STEM teachers for future. So here I have included a sample of 3 career panels, more for your viewing later than for now. The main point I want you to get out of this slide when you review is the variety, the diversity, and the caliber of the panelists from academia, industry, and government who participated in these career panels. We cover all STEM disciplines and allied health fields. Our STEM counselors really did an outstanding job recruiting these panelists. They also organized various major mixers and had other activities to keep the treatment group really engaged. However, they did not restrict these to be only for the treatment group and posted all of the Zoom recordings on our STEM Center website. Similarly, I want you to get a sense of workshops they held It shows you about the time management to finance management to career planning. We also organize several activities to engage them, especially through the pandemic year, whether it is a paint night or a special graduation ceremony just for STEM treatment group students. So let me briefly say some of the lessons we learned, especially the challenges during the last year. Engaging students during the virtual setting was a challenge in spite of the excellent work by our STEM counselors all throughout. The major impact is from actually the advising structural changes on our campus. But the good news is that the sense of belonging certainly increased. Also, we were able to get faculty involved, more with the advising, and connected with community colleges better. So from the lessons learned, we decided for the future, we want to increase the proactive advising to be much more intentional. So with the new grant, we will focus on the priorities I outlined in the RFP. As all of you are fully aware, the priorities are to increase the Hispanic and low-income students in STEM, increase the flexibility and affordable pathways, increase retention and graduation, and have plans for post-COVID for our students. So what we did is we decided to focus on the National Academy's report about the minority serving institutions and how to strengthen the STEM workforce. It had excellent thought leaders who came up with 7 suggestions. So we focused on those 7 specific suggestions. Number 1, dynamic multi-level mission-driven leadership, institutional responsiveness to student needs, campus climate that supports a sense of belonging, student-centered academic and social supports, like Ramesh talked about, effective mentorship as well as the undergraduate research experiences, and then mutually beneficial public and private sectors. So this is what we focused on, all of them. We have outstanding leadership in CalCit system as well as at CSUSB. They're all focused, and we're all focused on the GI 2025, and student success is our number 1 priority. We are focusing on articulation agreements with our key feeder community colleges. We are looking at alternative degree programs since we noticed several of our STEM majors have enough credit hours to get a general science degree. We're also putting in place several support systems, knowing very well the impact of virtual learning during the last year. In terms of the campus climate, we are expanding the STEM Center to a Science Success Center that will be a one-stop shop for advising and support. We'll also have science buddies for our students who check on our new students regularly, 1 buddy per student and 1 student per buddy. One of the things we will also continue to enhance is the Learning Assistant program so that we have better pedagogy and active learning in the classroom. Also, one of the key components that is new in our new proposal is the individual development plan for our students. These are popular among grad students and postdocs, and we are developing versions of them to adapt to our undergraduate students so that they take more responsibility. It's more than the academic roadmaps. It's about planning for careers, planning for different workshops, planning for internships, etc., or a study abroad. So we will have regular checkups, how they're following their individual development plan, along with our STEM counselors as well as faculty advisors. Again, to develop these individual development plans, we will have a 2-unit course in their first year, work with faculty and STEM counselors to develop them. We'll also provide membership to professional societies like SACNAS and HAKU so that they can gain networking and mentoring opportunities. So another new item is to follow what Ramesh has talked about, is focus on the undergraduate research experiences, both on our campus as well as hooking them up with the REU sites proactively. Finally, we are working on increasing internship opportunities with Army as well as the private sector. So those are the 7 items that relate to the MSI report from the National Academies on increasing the workforce, which we are planning to implement in our PATS, the new grant. So they're all directly related to the absolute, competitive, and optional priorities of the Department of Education's the new RFP. So in this table, I have summarized how all of our activities connect to the priorities of the Department of Education. Again, I have recently recorded a longer talk for the Department of Education, the Program Directors Conference, August 3rd through 5th. That is about 30-minute talk. So I go in detail how these things are connected with the priorities, connecting what the National Academy's recommendations are with the Department of Education priorities. I am very, very fortunate to have an excellent team of people who are leading these activities along with me. The Dean's Fellows, the department chairs, as well as Carol Hood, who has been active in terms of active learning, also having the students go on to graduate schools, through the CalBridge program, etc. So we are very fortunate to have an outstanding team. Not only that, outstanding STEM counselors whom we are going to expand and hire more people as we speak. We are advertising for more counselors and student success coaches in our STEM center. With that, I thank you for this opportunity, and I also thank the Department of Education for their continued investment in our college, as well as increasing the Hispanic students and low-income students and transfer students in STEM disciplines. Thank you again.
Thanks, Sastry. Excellent talk. I see in one of the pictures there, is that your twin down there, Sastry? A quick question for you. You mentioned a lot of issues you had to deal with since coming on in 2018. Unfortunately, people passing away and certainly others leaving your campus. What would you have done differently if it were not for the changes in the first few years of the grant?
Thank you. I can only imagine, just based on what our STEM Center and STEM counselors and our Dean's Fellows have done in the last 3 years, if I can just project that back, had we had start, either under me or under Dr. Fleming, I think we would have accomplished a lot more. We are very proud of what we have accomplished, certainly. And we would have probably have now, by now, a Science Success Center and even better connections with our community colleges. I also think that the EAB software that we actually proposed in the grant, but the university already purchased it too after the grant has arrived. So that is something that our faculty are warming up to right now. And that's, I think, would have gone a lot more smoother starting from day one than the year 3. So those are some of the things I really think. But this also gives me a lot of excitement about the paths and the future, because we are really ready to go, build on what we have done already. And I think with the individual development plans, peer mentoring, undergraduate research, and connecting with various internship opportunities, we are going to help with the social mobility of the Hispanic students, low-income students, and the community college transfer students.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Our final speakers are Iqbal Atwal and Harold Stanislaw from Cal State Stanislaus, and their talk is entitled STEM Success at Stanislaus State.
Thank you, Frank. Hello, everyone. I see some attendees have made it past the 1 hour mark, so congratulations. We are glad you sticked with us through this 90-minute talk. My name is Iqbal Atwal. I am the director for the STEM Success Program at Stanislaus State, and joining me is my colleague, Dr. Harold Stanislaw. He's also professor in psychology, and STEM Success is our second HSI-STEM grant, so we're very thankful for U.S. Department of Education for their support, and fingers crossed, we're hoping we get the grant for the 2021 competition as well. I also want to thank our program officer, Stacy, for being very supportive, especially during the turbulent year of 2020. For us, for our grant, STEM stands for Students Transitioning to Engage in Motivated Success. So that is the name of our grant. Our target population is students that come from underrepresented backgrounds in STEM, students that are first generation, or students that are low income. And at Stanislaus State, almost 87% of students fall into at least one or more of these categories. So we are very fortunate to be at a campus that's so diverse. But it definitely brings its challenges. So I will turn it over to Dr. Stanislaw to talk about some of the challenges we've noticed with retention and the STEM student pipeline.
Thanks, Iqbal. So one of the things we focused on in our first HSI STEM grant was trying to understand why is it that students aren't graduating as often as we would like with degrees in STEM. So we started pulling the data on that, and you see here data from a couple of our freshman cohorts, the 2009 cohort. In that year, we had 143 freshmen coming in with a STEM major. 2013 is to the right of them. In that year, we had 213 freshmen coming in with a STEM major. And just 2 years later, more than half of those students are no longer in STEM. So about a third of the students are still at the institution 2 years later, but they're no longer in a STEM major. And we have a pretty good idea which majors they go into. And they're not replaced by students from other majors. So it tends to be kind of a one-way street where students leave STEM, but no other students come into STEM to replace them. And about a quarter of the students tend to leave the institution entirely. That's for a variety of reasons. And we can look at institutional records to try to get a sense of what's happening with the reasons behind why students are leaving the institution. Sometimes that's due to academic performance. A lot of them are on probation or disqualified. Some of those do come back to Stan State, often by going back to a community college and then coming in with that deficit remediated. The students who are switching from STEM, they're actually easier to communicate with. So we've been sending out surveys to these students for the past 8-9 years now. Get a very high response rate to those surveys, about 40%. So we do have a pretty good understanding of why those students are leaving STEM and going into a non-STEM major. So I'll turn it back over to Iqbal. He'll talk about the primary reason that we've discovered for why those students are leaving and how we've leveraged that information to try to better serve those students.
Thank you, Harold. So these are actual quotes from the change of major survey that we send out to the students. And as you can see, a lot of what students mentioned relates to things that the university can actually support the student with, whether it's providing tutoring services, peer mentoring support, helping students before they start their journey here at Stanislaus State. So we sort of took this information and designed our program to hit the sense of belonging at 3 levels. So majority of our activities do focus on helping the students feel connected to their major. But we also have interdisciplinary activities all throughout our programming to help the students not only connect with students and faculty in their major, but also get to know other faculty outside of their major and students that are outside of their major, because a lot of times students do end up taking classes with students that are outside of their major, and all our activities are interdisciplinary. Even with our undergraduate research program, the students can do research with a faculty that's from another major. And we do work with more than 10 different departments on campus to sort of make sure that students are aware of campus services. And we invite a lot of speakers during our programming, our different departments on campus that come to do talks, such as the library, the health center, the bookstore, and the list just goes on. So we sort of try to make sure that we hit all three levels of sense of belonging for our students. So our activities, we have 4 key activities that are designed to support retention and the sense of belonging. Our articulation programming is called Warriors on the Way to STEM, WOW to STEM for short. So Warrior is our mascot. So this program really fits well and sort of creates that sense of pride for the transfer students even before they arrive to our campus by identifying themselves as warriors on the way to STEM. And under our articulation program, we have 1 transfer success specialist. So prior to the pandemic, her primary role was to actually go out to the campuses and conduct outreach to the transfer students. So we were doing tabling, in-class presentation. We were working with the transfer student orientations at the community college to connect the transfer students to our STEM majors. And she also had 3 peer mentors that would go along with her. However, last year we sort of pivoted to just doing fully virtual presentations and outreach. And overall, that has seemed to work out pretty well. What's been the most successful is doing virtual presentations during the community college courses. So we have networked with the community college faculty to allow us to go into the classes and do quick 5-minute presentation about water STEM and the services we provide. We also have 6 articulation faculty. So we have 1 faculty lead for each of the STEM majors that we offer. And anytime we have articulation questions or something needs to be done, those are our go-to faculty for articulation. And one of the key things we have done through Water STEM is created these roadmaps. You can see a quick snapshot of the roadmap. So it's a PDF document that pretty much outlines the courses the students need to take at the community college. And then when they arrive at Stanislaus State, the sequence of courses and the courses they need to successfully achieve their degree. And these roadmaps are designed by our Stanislaus State faculty in collaboration with articulation officers and faculty from the community colleges. Our next activity is the STEM Discovery Academy program. This is our 2-week summer STEM program. We actually finished this last week, so we're fresh from our summer program. And prior to the pandemic, this was an on-campus program, so we would keep the students in the dorms, and we would have weekend activities where we would take students to Calavera State Park and they would collect data and then analyze the data. We would take them to Monterey Bay Aquarium, California Academy of Sciences. We had a lot of hands-on activities like the laser lab, Daphne on drugs, and the list goes on and on. So we did a lot of hands-on STEM activity, and we also had 6 peer mentors that would stay in the dorms with the students, and that really helped the bonding. And as of last year, we moved to doing a virtual summer program. So I will share what we have learned from our virtual experience later on during our presentation. NSCI 1000 is a first-year undergraduate course. So this is open to incoming freshman student, and they do get 3 units of general education, as well as they learn about tools and techniques needed to be successful STEM students. So this course is taught by one of our math faculty, and it also includes a peer mentor that is usually a junior or a senior that has done undergraduate research on campus. And this peer mentor participates in all activities during the course. So they actually are in the classroom with the student, and they host office hours to help students with assignments and just sort of keep tabs on, any questions or doubts the student might be having. And some of the assignments in the course are designed to also help the students feel comfortable reaching out to faculty. So one of the thing the students have to do is they have to go and meet with the office, with the faculty during their office hour, which really helps the students sort of understand that, okay, I'm able to communicate to faculty outside of the classroom and sort of help them with that. They also do data collection. They analyze data, and part of their final is doing a poster presentation. So they do a group poster presentation. Since it's freshman students, they usually are in groups of two or three, and that's one of their last big assignment as part of this course. And RISE is our undergraduate research program. So student participants get paid $15 an hour, and they are able to match up with a faculty mentor. And we have a big diversity of research going on, from artificial intelligence to air pollution, dark matter. So the list goes on and on. We're very proud of the research that's being done under our RISE program. All right, now we'll turn it over to Dr. Stanislaw to talk about the results.
Yeah, one point I'd like to emphasize before we look at the results more deeply is that on our campus, we've needed to develop new metrics that are not normally tracked by our institutional research office. So what we're seeing here is the percentage of prerequisites for STEM majors that students who are coming in as transfers have completed upon their matriculation at Stan State. The black line is students who were in one of the community colleges that we partnered with. The broken line is in the first grant that we had. There are a number of colleges that provide a lot of students to us, but they weren't partnering with us. So you see a gradual increase in the percentage of prereqs completed before students arrive on our campus. A big jump in the year 2015. That's probably a little bit of an anomaly, but a general increasing trend. And then in this particular current grant, we brought in those non-partner colleges from the first period. So we're actually now working with 10 community colleges. And again, we've developed roadmaps specific for each of those colleges for each of the majors that we have. And we do have BA and BS versions of the majors. So a total of 120 roadmaps. But what we're finding is that students are using those roadmaps, and they're taking more of the courses at the community college that will help them complete the major when they get to Stan State, because they got a lot of the prereqs out of the way. And this is very important for transfer students because their financial aid clock starts ticking when they start taking courses at the community college. And many of them are spending a number of years there before they come to our campus. The STEM majors are high units, so they really do need to be strongly positioned in terms of completing their prerequisites when they get to our campus if they want to finish their degrees on time. So again, that's one metric that is something that we've had to look at specific to this grant. It's not something that was ordinarily tracked. Another one is we're trying to give a sense of students in terms of their psychosocial factors. So what we are doing now at the beginning of every semester, every student who's enrolled in a College of Science course, which is approximately 60% of the entire undergraduate enrollment at Stan State, they are sent an individualized invitation to complete a survey. Response rates around 35%. And what we are seeing with that is we're seeing data here that compares students who participated in the RISE program, which is the faculty research, or the Summer Academy, the SDA, students who are in one or the other of those programs, and comparing their psychosocial factors to students who are also in STEM majors but did not participate in those programs, even though they could have, because they were part of the target population that we're serving with those programs. We got a number of outcomes here. I've divided them into those that relate to a sense of belonging to the major. So students who participated in one of those two programs felt that faculty supported them more. They also felt more ready to read scholarly articles in their major. Got a couple of outcomes shown here relating to feeling as though you are part of the STEM community. So students are more likely to endorse the statement that they enjoy conducting research. They feel that they're more able to design a scientific study. And then just belonging to the campus community in general. Students who participate in one of those programs feel that they have friends and colleagues who can help them succeed, and they have at least one mentor. And what we're seeing here is that these are not simply due to students selecting into those programs who would tend to score higher on these anyhow. We see that these are actually outcomes related to those particular programs. And then the last outcome I'm going to focus on here before turning it back to Iqbal, we're looking at retention within the STEM major. So this relates to that graph that we had at the beginning showing students who are leaving STEM. What you see here on the left is data for freshmen. When they come in, 100% of them are STEM majors. After their first year, a large percentage of them who participated in one of the programs are still in STEM compared to a large number of students leaving STEM. And then in the third year, so after 2 years now on our campus, again, we're retaining a lot more students in STEM than the students who did not participate in any of those programs. The one exception for the freshmen is the MSCI 1000 course, which does have a bit higher retention rate at the start of the third year, but it's not quite where we want it to be, and we're working with that activity in particular to try to understand why that's happening and what we might do to improve it. And then over on the right side, we have the transfer students. Transfer students in general tend not to leave STEM as often, but there is an issue with students who do leave STEM, and we're seeing higher retention rates for the students who do participate. And you might notice that it sort of drops down for the SDA students and then goes back up. That's because in that students who are starting the third year, that does not include some students who are only in their second year. So those students who are in their second year, when they get to that third year, they'll pull that down a little bit. We still have stronger outcomes than students who did not participate.
We highly recommend having crystal clear roadmaps tailored to the specific major and the specific degree. We have learned that if you provide materials to the students ahead of time, so we mailed our students boxes that included the supplies for the summer program, and they sort of just followed along with the faculty on Zoom with the labs, obviously labs that were safe to do at home. And, as long as you have staff that are familiar with Zoom, you have faculty commitment, and you have well-trained peer mentors, it is possible to do a fully virtual summer program and just have it as successful as an in-person. We have learned that undergraduate research, however, is more challenging in a virtual environment, especially with topics that do require faculty and student to be together, or multiple student groups to be together to sort of conduct and analyze the data, or whether the protocols involved or require in-person work. So we have seen some challenges with our undergraduate research program. We have noticed that students that participated in either the summer program or undergraduate research program were just as successful. So as long as you're participating in one, the students are able to sort of reap the benefits. So in the future, we might look closely at maybe trying to provide our services to more students by not allowing students to, do more than one activity. And then peer mentors, all our activities that include peer mentoring, we've seen tremendous improvement in the students' confidence. So, we highly recommend including peer mentors in as many activities as possible. And we are actually right now working on 2 videos that we will be putting out as part of our partnership with the CSU Long Beach Center of Evaluation. One will focus on our summer program peer mentoring, and the other would focus on our articulation peer mentors and how we train them, and some insights on that. Oops. Next steps, we're going to institutionalize our roadmaps. We will work with our admissions staff and our College of Science to institutionalize and have them placed on our university website. And as part of our next RFP, we will be focusing on career training and connecting students to industry. And then we have institutionalized our NSCI 1000 course, so that was definitely a great success. All right. Moving on to questions.
Thanks, Iqbal. Thanks, Harold. We have a question here. Great talk. Have there been any challenges in engaging faculty in your program?
Enough that we had a lot of faculty that wanted to do research with undergraduate students and wanted to work with our summer program. However, last year I noticed the workload on the faculty increased a great deal because a lot of them had to go back to the drawing board and redo their syllabus and, the moving to online courses. So we did struggle a little bit last year with recruiting faculty for our summer program. And similarly for our undergraduate research program, as I mentioned, the faculty interest dipped a little bit when they learned that all research projects have to be done virtually. So we did lose, I want to say, around 2 to 3 faculty for our undergraduate research program, and around 4 to 5 faculty for our summer program. However, we still have about 18 faculty on our summer program, and around 20 for our undergraduate research program. So we still have a handful of faculty, but we did see a dip in the numbers.
To everyone that presented today, great talks, wonderful presentations. You all did a fabulous job. Speaker contact information is provided on this next slide. For more information on any of their presentations, you can contact them, and this might lead to a collaboration or potential proposal in the future. In addition, a link to the webcast will be soon made available on the STEMnet website. And for more information on this webcast and others, you can contact either Monica Alacon, who does all of the background information before we actually go on air, and of course Jennifer Wicks doing a great job, or myself. Previous webcasts can be found there. STEMnet is always looking to collaborate and write multi-campus types of proposals, and in fact we've written about 12 of them over the past 8 months, and in fact submitted 2 IU's proposals just yesterday. So if you do have an idea, by all means, contact me and we could chat about it. And finally, recently I had the honor to work with faculty from 5 CSU campuses and UNLV in submitting a collaborative proposal to the NSF Racial Equity in STEM Education Program. This is a new call to support bold, groundbreaking, and potentially transformative projects addressing systemic racism in STEM. Projects are to focus in advancing racial equity in STEM education and workforce development through research, both fundamental and applied, and practice. An interesting aspect of this program is that proposals are to be led by or developed and led in authentic partnership with individuals and communities most impacted by the inequities caused by systemic racism. Furthermore, the voices, knowledge, and experiences of those who have been most impacted by enduring racial inequities should be at the center of these proposals, may it be in leadership, research positions, conceptualization of the proposal, decision-making processes, etc. In assembling the team, and in accordance with NSF guidelines, a goal was to bring together faculty that had been impacted either through their education or their careers. Similarly, it was important these faculty fit within the project scope. Given the focus of our project, I set about looking for these faculty across the CSU. What I found most surprising was the few numbers of underrepresented faculty in STEM disciplines. Now, this is the CSU, where every day we take pride in being inclusive and supportive of diversity, and how this makes society better. A number of faculty who responded to my query decided to pass on it because they were too overloaded and or overworked, having served on committees, panels, or given talks related to diversity, inclusion, and equity. Our conversations then turned as to how they were able to balance work, teaching, research, and family life. In response, some said, if they did not do this important work, who else would? In parallel, the UC system has just admitted its largest, most diverse undergraduate class ever for fall 2021. Among California applicants, Latinos were the largest group admitted for the second year in a row, making up 37%, Asian Americans 34%, white students 20%, and black students 5%. Now, I was a graduate student at UCLA in the late 1980s, and if someone had told me these would be the numbers in 2021, I would have said at that moment, that's impossible. And so it made me think, and has for some time, how can we at the CSU do better? How can we diversify our faculty ranks with the goal of at least approaching the mirroring of our state's population? So here are a few ideas. For one, we should be identifying prospects early and building our inclusive brand ahead of time. One of the common mistakes in treating diversity in hiring is this as an afterthought, rather than as a long-term relationship. Departments often state, we need more faculty of color, and then embark on a search. But if it were that easy, those faculty members would already be on board. The search has to begin before the position is open. 2, we should know what is appealing to us. We need to paint a picture of what makes us attractive as an institution, program, and place. 3, Encourage hiring committees to recruit, not just open and advertise. In most fields, departments have become used to passive recruiting. Attracting a diverse pool requires active, friendly, strategic recruiting. Learn to appreciate that anyone worth hiring is worth wooing. 4. Widen our assumptions about the meaning of qualified. We should not be satisfied with "we tried, but there were just not enough qualified candidates who are persons of color." Perhaps we are defining positional qualifications too narrowly. And 5. Redefine the notion of fit. The oldest and deepest tradition in academic hiring is the inclination to hire people who we think fit our culture, mission, and even locale. This is not necessarily a faulty or malicious tendency, as fit can apply within reason, but it can also be a pernicious and prejudicial variable, lazily applied. It can be used to exclude people who are not like us and to discount a candidate of color who might not relate to the student body, town, or culture of the institution. Our hiring systems left unchanged will unlikely achieve what the UC is moving towards, so we need to work together to identify and carry out practical, achievable, and sustainable solutions. Maintaining the status quo will lead to a greater danger to the stability of the higher educational system at a time when we cannot afford more division and discord. And that time is now. So to all of you, be safe, and may the rest of your day be a happy one. I now turn it over to our wonderful Jennifer Wicks.
Thank you very much, Frank. Appreciate your closing observations and, as Ramesh said in the chat, powerful words, as always, as we wrap our sessions. You always put a lot of heart into each and every production and webcast that we offer, so we really appreciate that. Want to also ask for feedback from our participants, our presenters. Please take a few moments, tell us about your webcast experience. You'll see that QR code on the left of your screen. We would really appreciate that. Also, Monica has posted that link in the chat, so thank you, Monica. Monica Alarcón is behind the scenes. She works with Frank Gomez on the STEMnet team in helping us produce these webcasts each month. So in talking about our STEMnet community, join the community listserv. You'll see the link there on the left side of the screen. Also, you can join the Facebook group there to talk about conversing on different topics with colleagues. Right there, it's the private CSU STEMnet Facebook group. And also, we'd like for you to join the Virtual Research Cafe. You can register there. The next one is on July 28th, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Look forward to seeing you there. That is the QR code, and I believe Monica will also be posting that, yes, in the chat as well, so you can join from her link. She'll post there as well. And coming up in September, September 2nd, is our next STEMnet webcast. CSU, NSF, REU, and IRES awardees will be coming on and presenting. And we look forward to you joining us then as well. Registration link is coming very soon. So thank you again for joining us. Also, another thank you to all of our excellent experts here today for taking the time to join us and share the work that they're currently doing. We really appreciate all that you do. Thank you, Frank and Monica, and also Kayla Perez, production assistant behind the scenes. And we look forward to seeing everyone next month. Actually, it'll be September 2nd, so coming up soon. Have a great rest of the day. Thanks, everyone.